One. It's Paul Gannon. Welcome to the show. ThoughtCast Media. Tell me a little bit more about who you are, what you do, what you've been up to.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. I support what you do. I'm looking forward to this all week. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So ThoughtCast Media is a small video marketing agency located outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland. And we shoot remote video, but none of it is streamed. So we use an application that captures from iOS devices and from webcams like the one I'm on now. But it captures the files directly to those devices. And only after we're finished shooting do our directors send that up to a private cloud where our editors then work on it. We are in constant contact with the subject, and they can hear and see us. We can hear and see them through the entire shoot. So it is directed. We call this the solution remote directed video. And so we are able to direct people as you're on a gig now, and I'm sure you've done your share of directing where it's like, look, sit up straight, move away from that window, straighten your tie. Let's do that one again. I didn't believe you.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of thing. So we're able to get much better interviews out of people than if we were just to ask them to send in their videos. I don't know if you've ever managed one of those programs. It's not good.
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Back in the day, it's not good. You can tell everybody is shooting horizontally, and one person out of 10 will send it back, vertically. But we're able to do all the direction where we coordinate with our customers. We do a lot of testimonials and a lot of sort of thought leader type videos. So our solution is really technology based. And then we've got a variety of services that go around it, the most important of which is to coordinate with our clients' customers. So when a client tells us they want to shoot these 10 people for testimonials, we will take care of sending them the required equipment, which is not much, tripod and a lavalier microphone. And then we'll coordinate doing the scheduling for those people, and then we'll ultimately do the shoot. And we do everything in between. So people reschedule, they cancel, they don't get their equipment. We shoot in 125 countries around the world. Sometimes that's a problem when we're trying to ship equipment to far off places. But we handle all of that. So typically what happens is our customer will ask us to shoot a testimonial. They'll give us somebody's name. And a couple weeks later, the next thing they know, there's a video for them to review on our collaboration platform. So we've tried to take a lot of the craziness out of the difficulty that people have with buying video. To this day, people have a hard time buying video. They don't know what's really involved.
Yeah.
They have a hard time sort of speccing what they actually want. And so we've created a series of packages. We'll do custom work as well. I still do my share of custom editing. We do no more shooting. It's all remote. But people just they're uncomfortable with video. They have an idea in their head. I'm sure you've encountered this. The analog for them is motion pictures. So I don't know how many times you've been asked to do an opening sequence out of Star Wars, that sort of thing. So so we're by packaging this stuff, we really sort of rope people into a more narrow video product that we know that they're going to be happy with. So our videos, unless they negotiate outside of the box, they're 3 minutes long. We'll do a 30-minute capture session. And, we have X number of different, we don't have templates, but we have X number, 3 lines of review that people can go through. We'll go through sort of moderate, it's talking head video is what it is. And so we go through sort of moderate editing type of stuff. And that seems to work. So the biggest problem that I have is people asking for raw video, and there really just is no raw video in what we do. So raw footage, pardon me. So, people love this idea of having 20 minutes of video to fit into their 3-minute video. They'll select the best pieces, but I'm just saving them just a world of hurt. Some studios I'll work with will do the raw footage, and let them do it. We don't edit raw footage. If the video is 3 minutes long, we'll ask 4 questions. So it's always 1 question over the number of minutes. And that gets us down to a reasonable state to allow us to really quickly turn this stuff over. So a lot of people have been able to build libraries of video with this stuff as opposed to just doing the one-off video. That's probably the biggest challenge in my business. It is your business where people call you and say, I want this video. And you'll spend a lot more money than they'll spend with me doing a single video. My whole thing is repeatable numbers.
Right.
So we're able to create libraries of video very quickly and affordably for people.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit offline. This was the solution to the pandemic. This was the repositioning of your company to handle remote work.
That's right.
Quarantine work. So I mean, what were the challenges? What did it take to make this jump and make this repositioning, as you said?
Right. So before the pandemic, we were not a full service. I mean, we had our niches as well. We still did a lot of testimonial videos, but it involved sending a crew out to somewhere around the country, and we used to charge a lot of money for it. Not a lot, but we charged what we thought we were worth. And still, I always had that idea in and out. So I'm a former marketing executive, mostly in software. And we got, the last company I worked for was acquired, and I stayed for a couple of years, but I finally decided I wanted to do this. Did a lot of video. That's really where I cut my teeth on video at that last gig, and decided I wanted to do this. And I knew that the problem was that people have a hard time buying it, as we said before, and hard time getting it done. So we've been in business now for 6 years. We did this remote video before, but it was typically in the middle of a mini documentary. Let's say one of my clients would call up and go, hey, is there any way you can get on an airplane tomorrow and go out to Seattle and shoot our chairman of the board? And we're like, no, and I can do it 2 weeks from now, maybe. It's just all the scheduling that goes into that life.
Yeah.
And so I started up this service as sort of a courtesy to my regular customers. But the coronavirus hit, and I was, like a lot of marketing studios, rather video marketing agencies, I was looking at going out of business, because that was my bread and butter, was getting on airplanes and going to shoot video. And so we just decided to ramp up this service that we had been doing for years. We've been shooting remote video for a couple of years before the pandemic hit. But we really sort of built a whole product around it. We built a whole solution around it. And so to this day, RDV, remote directed video, which is what we call it, is a collection of technologies and services that go into making a solution for our customers, so that they can really just pay us and sort of sit back and wait for it to happen. So the real challenge in repositioning was like making the decision to do it. That was tough. Mm-hmm. But we thought it was the right way to go. And as it turned out, it's really simplified my life. So in the past, when you're a full service agency and it's like, well, what kind of video would you like? We'll shoot it for you. Let me get the pricing for that. All the work that goes into doing that sort of video work. And now we're much, much simpler. It's a package. It took us a long time to sort of nail together what that package was going to be. And then most of the work really has been changing our website and changing our marketing materials and things like that. And so we repositioned in December of last year, and we just haven't looked back. And it's turned out to be a really, really good decision for us.
The marketing, that's always been my downfall. Yeah. This marketing, I do my best, like trying to figure out the hashtags and using whatever social media platforms, but the marketing has always been the challenge. And I guess, sometimes it's kind of fun, depending on what it is, whether it's this podcast and I'm putting out the blast of a little snippet of it to get people to to go to the YouTube and watch the latest episode or some of the other web series I'm doing. But you know, it's the marketing has always been a challenge for me, trying to figure out the analytics or whatever, the SEO. But
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, making that change, you know, and offline, I was asking you, is this live streaming? And even though it's not that, for me, luckily, that's, or whether I'm blessed or whatever, that's always been a common theme in this podcast, is talking about how a lot of us are blessed, whether it's luck, whether it's hindsight, whether it's just being, you know, blessed with all three. I had jumped on live streaming and looking at podcasting and you know, remote work, and always had this desire to be set up working from home, doing something working from home, because I knew I was eventually going to marry, you know, my girlfriend, which then we did, and I always knew we were going to have, you know, a family, and eventually we brought a kid home 2 weeks before quarantine.
Oh.
So the goal was work from home, you know, work remotely, work on my own schedule, do something that I love. And so I'd say starting in 2016 or 2017, I was always doing live streaming events and working on and trying to, you know, stay connected, stay current, and knowledgeable within that tech. Obviously film, TV, narrative film, like you were saying, you know, the Star Wars and the Indiana Jones, or, you know, shows like 24 or you know, Miami Vice. You know, those are the TV shows that, and the movies that eventually I want to be working on, of course. Acting, writing, you know, narrative film, action, adventure, sci-fi type stuff. But I always wanted to have a fallback within film and TV, audio, video. You know, everyone has a fallback. Your fallback might be real estate or finance or selling cars or sales or something like that. And if you have a fallback, you're going to fall back on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, Schwarzenegger said, I had no plan B. That's why I succeeded at plan A. But from all or nothing. Yeah. So if I'm going to have a plan B, it's still going to be within plan A. It's going to be like plan A minus or minus, you know what I mean? And so I was able to at plan A light. And I learned, and so I'm constantly learning, because it's like, hey, listen, I'm broke. I need to take a gig. I'm gonna go hang lights and at an event. And I get there and they say, hey, listen, we actually need you to run audio. And I learned all this audio, and then that goes into, I learned all this audio tech. I can put that into that podcast that me and a buddy of mine were talking about. It's funny because I have a colleague, and I had him on I have him on recurring roundtables. We were just talking about this loss prevention radio that we tried to do probably back in 07, going out with a camcorder with a mini DV, and then he had a mic hardwired XLR cable to I think a 1/8 inch adapter into like one of those DAT cams that he would record.
Yeah.
That was digital, but then we had to digitize the mini DVs and then sync the audio and then start editing. And now it's great looking back at loss prevention radio. And then this one failed podcast, me and him and another partner did, and another failed podcast that me and another partner did. And then when this quarantine hit, it's like, I know live streaming, I know Zoom, I know all these different softwares. And at this point, buddy, you set up your iPhone, and buddy, you set up your iPhone, and I've got this deck, and it's all turnkey now at this point, because we've experimented, we've tried, we've failed. But this quarantine is now just giving us no option except for to do this, because we're all out of work. We're all stuck in the house. Let's all talk about it. And then I think this is episode 151 for you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, we keep it going. But like you said, it's just, you got to keep something going. And
Well, you might have a tiger by the tail. I mean, necessity is certainly the mother of invention, right? We got to feed our families, got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
But I think this is the new normal. I really do. I hate to overuse that phrase, but I really do think this is it. So I had, when we first went all remote, I had most customers who I was shooting for. I said, so when this thing is all over, how likely are you going to be to put me back on an airplane? And they were like, not at all. We're great with this. This is just fine. And I had one customer who held out, and about 2 weeks ago, he called me. He says, "Hey, a long time no see." I said, I think we're ready to come on over," because they just had a lot of testimonials that they had to do. Even if there weren't a pandemic, it would cost them a fortune to do all those testimonials. So this is the way people are going to be shooting video from now on. And the value of the pandemic, if you can even call it that, is that everybody got used to doing this. I can't tell you. I mean, I live on Zoom.
yeah, yeah.
And we have some content. So I've got a webcast, if that's what you call it these days, called Marketers Drinking Beer. And we get together. We used to get together once a week. We just finally put a stop to it this summer while everyone's on vacation. But we get together, all these marketers, and it's on Zoom. In the past, it was in various locations. It was a multi-camera, sitting around a table sort of thing. So I'm not going back to that. The ideas are still there. It's not as fun to look at, and it kind of hurts my eyes a little bit. But for most of my customers in corporate America shooting corporate video, this is fun. Well, I make the argument that you need to up it a little bit, because you've got the streaming problems and the lag and things like that.
The audio, people are still listening to people are still listening to Spotify and Amazon Music and YouTube Music, Spotify and something else. Spotify, I think, is the number one right now as far as audio only. People are listening to Spotify.
Sure.
And so this is on Spotify as well as YouTube. And I'm utilizing that sort of arena as well, that platform, because there are people that are putting the audio on, not bothering with the video. And they're probably doing work around the house, especially during the quarantine. I mean, gosh, they're probably they're probably babysitting. They're probably stay-at-home parents doing they're working from home remotely, doing something, accounting or marketing or data entry or what have you, and they're listening to audio, if not watching the video. So whether it's pretty or not, the ideas are there. That audio can still be extracted and used because the ideas are there, the conversation's there, the humor's still going to be there, whether it's 6 squares on a Zoom or whether it's in the studio cutting back and forth. When you go back to look at the Breakfast Club, the show, the talk show, the Breakfast Club, or gosh, I forget the oh gosh, who was the guy that was on MTV News?
Oh God, I wouldn't know.
And now he has a show. He has
Loader?
The African American guy with the locks, and he has Sway. Anyway,
You say so.
Yeah. But anyways, he's got a show just like that, looks just like the Breakfast Club, looks just like Howard Stern's show, but it's a podcast and it's on, whatever platforms, but you don't even really need that.
No.
It's just really microphones and a simple camera setup. But you touched a couple of nerves, the vertical shots. Like what? Please just shoot it horizontally so that it's multifaceted for multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Like we're not shooting a TikTok video here. And I've had so many battles, and I've had colleagues, and I've had acquaintances and former colleagues continue to shoot it and argue with me. And I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. If you're going to post something to Instagram or your TikTok or your Instagram, shoot it that way. That's fine. I'm telling you, you're going to shoot it my way, or you're not going to, and then they don't get a call back because, and they don't get involved. But, and then people with, so you mentioned, clients that have this idea in their head, the motion picture analog Star Wars opening.
Right.
What, so I had another, horror story, but go back to what you were talking about with that. So they're expecting, what are they expecting?
Well, I mean, what they know about motion pictures, whether they be on film or stream, that sort of thing, is they know from the movies, and so they have, those are the forms that they have in their mind.
Yeah.
And they contemplate those forms and ask you to do it. And so there's always that argument, like, you know, I'm not, you really shouldn't do it. I mean, if you're going to pay me, I'll do it. But it's just a big mistake to try to make your video about your software program look like Star Wars. So, but that's what they have in their mind. And so I'll often get question, you know, direction from people. Like, I just had this the other day. I still do custom editing work. So where I don't have to shoot everything. So I did this for a company out in Colorado. I won't say who they are, but they said we drone work, and so we've got this drone footage, and we want the drone coming in on the musicians, blah blah blah. And so I get the drone footage, and it's crap. It's like from half a mile up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't, you know. And so, but they've got these ideas on what they want it to look like. And when I saw that direction, I thought that would be good. Sure, I recognize that form. Mm-hmm. Of, you know, the drone coming in and then boom, you're on the stage and that sort of thing. But that's where form goes way over function. You just can't do it. Not to mention it's really a marketing issue. It's branding. Do you want your company to be known as the company that rips off Star Wars?
Right. Or
tries to rip off Star Wars? I can do it for you. Anybody can do it for you. But is that really what you want to do? And so,
yeah. And I think, yeah, I mean, I get the idea. Everybody wants to like see what the new trending movie or the new trending show, and then that's what they want to look like, and that's right. They want to use that Hans. Everybody wants to use that Hans Zimmer's kind of sound that in their trailers or in their commercials or in their or in their teasers, their marketing videos. And I get that, but for me, what I started doing was I subtracted 35 years from the year we're in and what was popular then. And so a couple of years ago, I did that, and I think it was 1984. And so I started looking at all these bad commercials, the car commercials, the lawyer commercials, Sunday type commercials, all the weird stuff that we would see, you know, was that the paid programming back in the 80s. And I would look at that and I was kind of mocking that. Sure, I was ripping off of that, going off of some retro stuff. And I would always subtract 35 years from the present date and play around with some of those old graphics, those old, because that is a trend. People kind of going back to this retro thing and playing around with that. And so that was my number, 35. So I think, you know, maybe in 10 years, it's going to be, you know, 1995. It'll be like Michael, you know, over the top Michael Bay stuff and maybe pro wrestling and those Gushers commercials or something, like those ridiculous commercials for candy.
Right. I
remember when I was in high school, it was just Gushers commercials and that gum, all that bubble yum. I think it was bubble yum or Fruitylicious or some crap like that. But anyway, it's not the new thing. Like the new thing is people playing with old stuff again.
Yeah.
And reinventing old stuff.
Yeah.
And then and simplifying stuff. What a lot of clients, what a lot of in my case about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, a lot of musicians didn't realize They want to rip off one person. But what those popular people are doing is they're reinventing old stuff and also really simplifying stuff. So I had an artist say to me, I came up with some ideas for, so there was this one R&B artist, and he was looking for a music video. So I came up with some of my original ideas and I pitched it to him. He got back to me, he goes, I'm looking for something more original. I'm like, okay, give me an idea. He says, I'm looking for something more original. Like, for example, let's do something like Bruno Mars did with that music video where he was on a webcam and all those guys with monkey masks were dancing behind him on that webcam in that music video. I said, okay, you want to do something original and do exactly what Bruno Mars did. I just gave you a completely original idea. Right. Very, very simple, very dumbed down.
Yeah.
The creativity is the originality and the simplicity. Less is more.
Yeah. See, he's got the Bruno Mars video in his head. That's the form that he's contemplating. That's the way that all good videos, certainly his, should look. So
and then
the problem.
And he started overcomplicating his idea. And I'm like, okay, the beauty of Bruno Mars' video was that it was shot on a webcam. He's lip syncing to his own song, probably even has his own lyrics up, because I've dealt with rappers that forgot their own lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are just goofing off behind him. You want to rip him off and overcomplicate it.
Right.
Whereas let's do something totally different than that and oversimplify it. And that could be the genius in it.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you were saying about, like, people have this crazy motion picture idea in their head. I had another artist. He was a producer. He produced the song, apparently. But he was pitching this music video idea for his client, who was she's a great singer. And he would say from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, this, and I'm like, whoa, stop. You're editing it now. That's no. Just name all the different locations and scenes and setups.
Yeah.
He goes, well, hold on. So then at 30 seconds to 45 seconds, I'm like, bro, you're wasting everyone's time. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean any disrespect. What are all the setups? Where are all the locations? And he would say, here, 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 and here. Like, okay, too easy. We're going to go here. We're going to have we'll do a two camera shoot. We'll be on a wide and a medium. She's going to go through the whole song. Then we bump in for a couple of different angles. She goes through the whole song. We move on.
Mm-hmm.
You let the editor at the end of the day, because you cannot force. We're going to be shooting this 4-minute music video for a year if you're trying to get these exact shots.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how film works. You know, you can direct and you can produce and you can control to a certain extent, but a lot of it really is like just capturing it on camera.
Well, there's so much creativity that goes into it, but it's really, they don't mean to be insulting, but look, you hired me because I'm a video guy. If you knew all this, you'd have done it yourself. Yeah. Years and years ago, I used to say, back before video was a thing, I would say the first rule of graphic design is to hire a good graphic designer and just let them go. So I had a situation, I'm dating myself now, it's probably 25 years ago, where we were producing an annual meeting program for ourselves. And somebody had somehow managed to get like a big design shop down in DC to do it. I'd come up with the money to do that. I was like, oh, that's great. You know, and so the meeting planner who worked for me, who was managing the whole process, came to me and she said, I've got a problem with this designer. So what's the problem? She said, I asked him to put this information on this page into a drop shadow box. And he said, no. I said, okay, what was his objection? He said, it doesn't fit with his design, but I said, okay, try this. Go back to him and say this. Look, this is the most important information on this page. Make it pop. Thank you. And let him work out a solution. let him come back to you. And she came running into my office the next week and was, oh my God, look what this guy did. And I don't remember what his solution was, but it wasn't a 1970s era, drop shadow box. And that's what you have to do. You have to trust your creatives to do what they do. And now if you're smart, you will set up parameters at the beginning of the video, or in this case the video, and you'll say, look, here's the deal. We're this kind of company. We have to make sure that everything looks like, has a certain level of production value to it. But within those parameters, and define them all day long if you want. So I do a creative brief with everybody that I do. Most people do. And I say, is this going to work for you? But I don't ask them questions like, what kind of lower thirds do you want? I'll ask them questions like, what do you want people, my big question on these interviews with clients, new clients, is what do you want people to think, feel, and do after they watch your video? What is that? Tell me what that is. I'll take care of making that happen, in line with your brand guidelines and in line with your, the level of production value that you want. And so if you're I'm just trying to think of some of my customers. If you're a software company that does software for financial planners, I'm going to do a different style than if you're a luxury brand that sells, whatever. And so let me interpret that for you. Please don't do that. And if you're good at what you do, you get over time good at sort of massaging people and say, hey, what would you think if instead of that, if we did something that would give you a much more whatever in line with your brand guidelines and so forth and so on. So that's a constant challenge for those of us who produce video. You've got to sort of get them to stop and trust you to do the stuff that you do.
You're paying me, so
yeah,
let me earn it. And something you've seen my work.
Yeah.
So that I'm worth it. I'm I'm qualified. And yeah, so in film, I've been an AD. I was a first AD on 3 different films. Both directors were the writer.
Full feature films? I mean, big.
Well, yeah, 2 features and 1. I think this thing turned out to be 45 minutes, so a featurette. 2 features and a featurette. I was first AD, and 2 different directors. The one writer director who had to be the editor for the 2 features. In the same situation, another writer, director, producer, editor for the featurette, and they're micromanaging everything. And so it took forever for the things to get edited and put out. And there's a lot of issues with the featurette, and the director flew off the handle, wrote a couple of inappropriate emails to the whole cast and crew. The 2 features, one of the actors is also a co-producer in both those features, and he still hasn't seen anything. And he's like, what's going on? And so when I started talking to that guy, I said, listen, I have a couple of screenplays that I wrote. I want to direct. I don't want to edit. I don't want to touch a camera. I don't want to edit. I'll probably sit down for the first day of editing and mark a script. The second take of the close-up, and like my favorite stuff for the script, and I'll mark the script, give them mark script to the editor. You have at it. That's why you're an editor.
Yeah.
I am an editor. I do not want to do this because I want to write it. I want to direct it. That's it.
Yeah. And then when the edits come back, if you're smart, you'll be saying things like, this piece doesn't work for me. It needs a bit more energy. Can you figure out a way to add more energy, and then walk away?
Director's notes?
Because he knows how to do that.
Because my job is to direct. I'll give director's notes.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to, screw off and let him do his freaking job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is his mastered craft. Yeah. If I put more time in editing could be my master craft. I do a lot of editing. Me personally, fed up with it. Don't want to do it ever. But you know, as a director, it's like directing is communicating to other people and delegating to other, and producing is delegating also, but directing is delegating and communicating to other master craftsmen, actors, production designers, wardrobes and costumes and painting and sets and editing, special effects, communicating to them what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it.
And let them do it.
And sometimes lion taming when it comes to some actors. Got to be a lion, got to be a lion tamer and a lion wrangler. But yeah. But
Yeah,
man, I mean,
smart.
yeah. So
You know, I just to share a little aside, I hate editing myself, and I haven't edited anything since December. Last
congratulations.
December. I offshore it all, and it's first of all, they're so much better at it than I am, and
Yeah.
they're so much faster. And so that's another thing with this, with the
And how old are they? Who are you hiring? How old are they? Straight out of college?
I've got no some, yeah, some, and some older, but yeah, you're right, they're younger than I am, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this is another thing of the new normal. Like I'm in Gaithersburg. You're in Maryland, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in Gaithersburg, Maryland, Montgomery County, in a condo right now, and I run the whole damn thing from here. And it's an international business. I shoot in 125 countries around the world, and then everything gets uploaded to a private cloud. My editors are in the Philippines and in Germany, and they pick stuff up off of there, and they edit it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes back, it goes on to Frame. I don't know if you're familiar with Frame, the collaboration platform. But it all goes up there. They make their edits. The clients make their edits. My guys pick those up, and we will do 3 rounds of, edits, and then we're done. They download the final copy from Frame, and put it into service. So it's just amazing that you can do this stuff here, So
Yeah.
go ahead.
And you know what you were saying is you're running this an international corporation from a condo. Why do something to complicate that a little bit and throw a wrench in it? If this machine's working and working well, I've done that so many times in the military. I cared, I probably cared too much and micromanaged too much and wanted to overcomplicate things. And there's times where that works and there's times where it doesn't. And it's like, yeah, like if this thing's working, you use Frame, you send it out to editors, you let them rock it. You got that budget, you've got that payment and that hierarchy structure there of who does what.
Mm-hmm.
It's turnkey at this point. Why mess that up?
Yeah.
And I've done that a couple of times to better this podcast, where I would add a little bit extra things to make it a little bit more snazzy, and it might overcomplicate things. And I found myself just deleting half the stuff, and it's just click start, click middle, click end.
Yeah.
Turnkey. Yeah. And because people are still getting the same ideas, the same conversation.
Right.
The basic graphics and cool snazzy stuff, but it's experimentation too. But at the same time, like you said, you've got this incredible thing running from a condo in Maryland. The simpler it is, people want to overcomplicate things and see like, oh, we can make it better. In a lot of cases, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a cost to, making things better.
Yeah, there's a cost.
And that's why when I got that call 2 weeks ago from that last holdout customer who said, you know what, this makes more sense now. Let's just do this. And I get it. I mean, there's some things that I can't do with people's iPhones, right? I mean, for example, I can't get depth of field, and which is really a huge artistic, element that is now lost to me. I can't get the lighting exactly right. because we're working with natural light. You used to send out a little, vanity light, and it was more trouble than it was worth. So I just put people in front of windows. I send them a diagram, says set it up like this, and they do.
Yeah.
And it's good. I mean, it's good. We're shooting 4K, we're shooting 1080, mostly 1080. I'm doing a shoot, like a B-roll shoot in Vietnam next week with that one. We'll use 4K there because I want to, crop and whatnot. But it just doesn't have to be that difficult. And I think if, back to the talk of the coronavirus, I think that's sort of gotten people used to that. I think if we're talking about if the real value of video is getting ideas out there, I think we've made a great step forward, at the hands of, at the risk of 600 people who lost their lives. But, we've got people are just, this is fine. I can live with this. I can live with this. And it's, like I said, it's the new normal. And I think it's a really good thing. Like when you first invited me, I looked at your stuff specifically for this show. I probably watched 10 different pieces of 10 different videos. This is great. Like, you interviewed the one that I remember, you interviewed a makeup artist. I know nothing about makeup artists, so what is she doing, during this time? It's the content, man. It's not how pretty it looks and things like that. Now that's a whole other thing. If you're doing feature films, that's a whole other thing. You need that, this isn't going to work in a feature film. But that it's different, especially for corporate video. You just really don't need that unless you're a really high-end brand. And I get that, but I don't have customers like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have customers who need me to shoot, Super Bowl commercials. So I think we're in a much better place than we were at the beginning of this as far as video capture is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, just like when, and I brought this up before on the show, like post 9/11, tech jumped 20-fold. And so with this, for people to stay entertained, for people to stay connected, for people to stay sane, tech jumped 20-fold for convenience.
Yeah.
Simplicity, connectivity, and convenience. Whereas, post 9/11 was tech definitely jumped, but that was more for security and performance and closer to the same time, instantaneous results. And now it's convenience and it's simplicity and it's connectivity. But and I always ask, have you been back in the field, back on set, back on a location, or you're still remote?
I'm not going back.
You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. I've got all my cameras in storage and my lights in storage. I'm not going anywhere. It's really, last year was a banner year for us. And this year is working out even better, although the summer's been brutal. But yeah, we're doing well. My new initiative is I want to start reselling. The idea was, and this is how things change. It's interesting. My son, who is my business partner and my marketing guy, really does most of it. We're marketing guys. This group is all marketing people, and so who are doing video, who specialize in video. So been doing it for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. But still, our strong suit is marketing. But he kept pushing me. You need to offer this to studios, and I do some work for studios, but it's rare. So, and that made sense because everybody's, what are they doing now in the middle of this pandemic, and but what they do is fundamentally different than what I do. So if you're doing a music video, I can't do a music video with this. I can't do a high-end corporate, video. I can't do. I can do anything, but
you could.
It's not. You wouldn't want.
I'm not gonna talk you into overcomplicating and completely blowing up your empire. But
can you imagine? Well, but I had a filmmaker. This is a couple of years ago. He said I could shoot, and he wasn't doing. I guess he got his first feature film. I haven't seen it yet, but he was shooting, a bunch of shorts, and they were being well received. He said, I could shoot a short with my my iPhone, but it would cost me more to compensate for the iPhone than it would be to shoot it with a with a red or a high-end camera. So that's true. So the thing is like to find your lane, right?
Yeah.
So that just wasn't our lane. I always worried about that. Plus, I do technically compete with studios, so, and hopefully with with things opening up a bit, studios are going to get more work going out and doing what I do. There's plenty of work to go around, that's for sure. But that's not what I do. And then just I guess about a month and a half ago, I thought, who I need to partner with as reseller or marketing agency, because as one of and I've been talking to marketing agencies. I need to talk to my lawyer to get an agreement, reseller agreement pulled together. I think I'm going to do it. But one of them said to me, the problem with video marketing, this is all corporate video, right? The problem with video marketing programs is that ultimately somebody's got to go out and shoot a video. And I said, well, yeah, that is a problem for agencies, because they either have to staff up to do it themselves, or they have to hire studios. And working through studios, you're going to get a much better product, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's complicated. So it's one thing to say you're going to shoot all of your customers in Washington, D.C. and have the studio go visit them and shoot. It's certainly more expensive than what I do. But then what do you do when you have to shoot your customers in California? You're going to fly them out there? And what about your customers in Italy? You're going to fly them to Italy and things like that. So that's where it gets complicated. That's why agencies have been reluctant to try to talk their customers into doing that work. And they're leaving just tons of money on the table, because at the front end of that process, the video marketing process, is stuff that planning and budgeting and coming up with specifications and working with an agency or working with a studio rather, or with me. That's stuff they do in their sleep. And then at the end of the process, distributing that video, promoting that video, getting that video into the right hands, they do that all day long too. What they don't do is the thing that I do, which is actually shooting video.
Well, see, and the thing is, they probably love to do that.
Yeah.
And my big thing is, and to touch upon the phrase you said, which is a big phrase in the military, stay in your lane. But also creatively and in the arts and the creatives, do what you love to do.
Yeah.
If you're a director, yeah, you're going to have to, work your way up, and you're going to have to probably embrace the suck and be a PA and then be an AD. And, you're going to have to get your hands on a camera. You're going to have to get your hands on a boom mic. You're going to have to edit. But for me, not only did I make that jump to full-time freelance, I don't know how many years ago, but it was okay, I'm going to stay. And I touched upon this before. I'm going to stay within film and TV. My fallback will still be film and TV, or audio and video. And I will learn some bizarre shit from like concerts, audio signal flow, light signal flow, power flow. And now I can build studios. I can do all that stuff on a set. And then because of the military and being a military police in the Army, I decided, okay, I see all these blank spots in my schedule, because the DMV only has so many narrative films and TV shows, but they've got some crime shows, and they've got a lot of commercials and government stuff. So I said, okay, I'll start acting, and I'll do law enforcement, I'll do military roles, law enforcement roles, detectives, cops, whatever. All those crime shows on ID, for years they were all shot outside the Silver Spring area, because Discovery Channel was there, all those ID crime shows. I just started applying to every single detective role, officer role, sergeant this, lieutenant that, whatever. And that would fill in the schedule, and I would meet directors, I would meet crew. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a call, hey, we're shooting this feature film. We want you, for like a week to play this one character. Absolutely. And then I'll meet directors, say, hey, I got a script. Well, let me check it out. And so that I was an AD on that one film, where the actor slash producer still hasn't seen a cut. Well, I sent him a couple of my scripts. He was in one of my web series that's a passion project of mine. And there's this kind of kettle brewing of creativity because I'm staying in my lane, but I'm doing what I love, set life. The set life ended, quarantine ended. Hey, listen, we're going to start this podcast thing because it's film and video, it's audio and video. We're creatives talking about creative stuff, and we're just shooting the shit about. I mean, it started off like talking about just movies, and the big thing was, everybody's binging something. What are you binging? What are you binge watching? Tiger King and what was that other thing that had come out? Schitt's Creek.
Yeah,
Schitt's Creek and Tiger King were the two big things back in April and May of 2020. So it's and it's just. And then I'm meeting so many different people, and then they're taking a look at my YouTube and seeing other things, and maybe something will pop off. I'll get more subscribers. I'll get more views. Maybe something else will pop off from this. Maybe this will be the thing. But it's just doing what you love, staying in your lane. And going back to my military career, that it was a big issue for me, was staying in my lane. I cared too much. I was doing too much. I was micromanaging. I was maybe a little bit of a control freak. I wanted to oversimplify things, so I overcomplicated it to oversimplify it. And sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. What they'll do is they'll say, okay, you guys aren't doing any physical fitness, so you guys need to do physical fitness, in PT, in physical training uniform every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1,000 hours. And I said, okay, but what I would do is I would go on our little WhatsApp group and say, hey, squad PT on your own, go to the gym if you want, just go jogging if you want, work out in your room, but I want to see notes. You're going to take a screen grab of your workout, send it in this group, and I'll have a documentation. And some people are like, man, you're doing too much. And I'm like, oh, we can go out, we can meet every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1,000 hours in uniform and do it. Or you can just do whatever the hell you want and spend 60 seconds doing a screen grab. And so that's where that does work. And then sometimes that doesn't work with other shit, where it's like, yeah, you kind of getting out of your lane. You need to stay in your lane. Yeah. But again, do what you love. If you love doing it, because for me, I don't know jack about marketing and social media marketing and analytics and SEO stuff. I do the best I can because I'm all by myself, really, for the most part. But just post the same thing on all the cross platforms, maybe, and maybe something will bite. But once you get to a certain level, maybe you get someone that loves it, knows it, and lives it to do that.
Yeah. In marketing, staying in your lane, the term most frequently used is niching down. And so that's what we did, so we were, what kind of video do you want? We'll shoot it for you. We niched it down to being just remote video. And one of the greatest advantages has been on the marketing side of things. It's 1,000 times easier to market the fact that I shoot a narrow range of videos and I shoot it in a certain way. And we have the services and we publish our pricing, which you really can't do if you're shooting. If somebody calls you and says, you wouldn't want to post like, I'll do a music video for you for $5,000. My God, can you imagine? Mm-hmm. And so I got, well, what kind of video do you want? Do I have to go to New York to shoot this, or so how many locations, all the things that go into pricing. But I can price mine. I have a standard pricing, and it's just things like that have just made it so much easier to do. Yep. And it's been a really good thing to niche down as we have. When we first started, actually, we were doing mostly all video, but then our clients would come to us and say, hey, now that I've got these videos, what do I do with them? And be like, oh my God, are you serious? And so we started doing marketing stuff. This was driven by my son, that's his main contribution in this company is marketing and things like that. He goes, hey, Dad, why don't we offer to do SEO for people around this stuff? Why don't we offer to distribute the videos, blah, 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 blah. And so we started doing that, and it just got so unwieldy, because, people were like, well, are you a video company? Because I don't want to have my website designed by a video and so it just didn't make sense. Or I don't want my videos shot, more importantly, by somebody who designs websites. So, and we kept it, we kept everything, all the marketing related to video marketing. So we weren't doing big websites. We do landing pages for people who wanted to show off their videos and things like that. But since niching down, it's just become so much easier. We've sort of finally put the final touches on our website. I guess it was this week we were talking about. I'm trying to get my son off of that now because I need work in other areas. But he said, making that switch has just made the architecture even of our website is just so much more simple. And just so much easier to do everything if you stay in your lane.
And if you don't mind me asking, how old is your son?
He is 33.
Yeah, that generation, I think they're into it.
Oh yeah,
they know it, because I'm looking at I look at that stuff and charts. I kind of get it, but man, they get it, man. They're hooked into that, because for me, like you said, I embrace the tech, but I still go back to thinking of Star Wars, Predator, Terminator, classic 80s, 90s cinema, narrative storytelling. And then that's where I shut off.
Yeah.
And before, and of course, before it was, hopefully a studio picks it up. Hopefully they take it to film festivals. It gets bought by another a distributor. Goes in the theater. Hopefully it gets in the theater. Hopefully it's not a B movie, straight to tape B movie, straight to VHS, right? And those kind of deals. And now, but that was the whole beauty with YouTube. When YouTube first came out, it was like my own distribution. I can put all my shorts, all my indie stuff, all my ideas on here, get it out there. Someone grab it, it's out there to be viewed.
Yeah.
Even if it's by the classic studio that might want to say, hey, what else do you have? And they want to go the classic route of me pitching a script to them, me pitching an outline to them, and going that step-by-step process like it was done in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
But early 2000s. But back to ThoughtCast Media, Paul Gannon, what's next on the agenda? What's the next set of goals? What's next on the agenda? What's the next set of plans for Paul Gannon, ThoughtCast Media?
Yeah, my next big thing, and I'm in the middle of it right now, is marketing to resellers, trying to get a reseller program up and running. That has all sorts of implications. I mean, if I can, it's a big thing to bite off, because these people, they generally don't. They're very reactive when it comes to video. So if a company one of their clients comes to them and say, hey, one of our board members thinks we need a video promoting our annual, and that's how it usually happens. Can you do it? And they're sort of back on the ears. Yeah, and they've all worked with studios. They know, they're going to call and they're going to say, here's what we got. They're going to write the script that's going to be a good marketing script, corporate video again. And they're going to have some parameters, and they're going to go on set to watch the shoot, and then they're going to get involved in the editing process. If they're smart, they'll do, as we were talking before, like give very broad direction to people and see what comes back. But that's really how they do it. So they can either do it that way, or they can ramp up their own internal, which is, as you know, a difficult thing to do. It's harder than most people think. But that they're not going to go out the door to people and say, look, you should, for this kind of stuff that you're doing, this should all be video, because it's too expensive to go the studio route, and they're not about to even come close to doing it themselves. And so it just doesn't get done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to fill that gap. I'm trying to give these people an opportunity to go in and say, hey, we think that, that this should be on video. So I've got a whole series of FAQ videos that when you set up a consultation with me, it gives you access to these videos and it shows you answers all the questions that people typically ask me when they're engaging me about our process and what we do. And so they're, holy crap, that's great. I would love to do that. If you can do that for me affordably, I would go pitch that to my clients. So I'm giving them something to pitch, but you know, my job is now going to be, with regard to those people, my job is going to be continuously educating that group of customers to understand what is possible with this, you know. So why don't you pitch to people doing a whole video testimonial program, not just the one-off video testimonial? Why don't you pitch it to them that they should do all of their FAQs on their website as small and inexpensive videos? Why don't you pitch to them the idea that these all the blogs that they do should have a little video intro to it? Like, in this video, in this blog post, you're going to hear about blah, blah, blah. And here's why it's important to you. Good, you know, happy reading or something like that. There are just so many different options for, you know, doing small video, talking head type video.
Yeah.
And all these people they're still, rightly so, they're back in the idea of like, we got to do this big, for them, it's a feature video, you know, these big brand videos, you know, that was mostly horrible, I think. So that's where they are. I don't got to switch their minds, but I think I can do it. I've talked to, I guess, 6 different agencies at this point, and they're all like, yeah. One guy said, hey, sign me up. I said, well, I don't have a contract yet, but I'll remember that when I finally do. But so that's the next big thing for us, is going to be doing that. And then there's we now have the ability to shoot video and do screen capture simultaneously, which makes it possible for people to do presentations for all these online virtual meetings that have sprung up since the pandemic. Allows them to do that in really good quality. So not only do you have the PowerPoint slides up there, but the image of the person delivering that video is in, you know, in 1080. It looks really good, as opposed to the little thing in the corner of the screen of the person's slides. So we need to figure that out, but we're small. I can only figure out so much at any given time. So we're working on the resellers right now.
Outstanding. So before I let you go, because we've been going on over an hour now, what drives you? What is your driving force? What is your inspiration? What drives you?
So we've been talking about creativity during this this show, and you know, as far as being a creative is concerned, a lot of that has now gone away. For me, I am a creative person. I'm a musician, and I've been, you know, I mean, I used to be fond of saying this. I'm trying to remember the exact words. All I really want out of life is to live a creative life. That's all. I just enjoy creating, and so where I've moved those creative juices, if you will, is into business models, believe it or not, and you know, solutions. So there's a great deal of creativity, who knew, in cobbling together these solutions that really work, and restraining all the things that apply to other creative arts. You know, the greatest artistic virtue is restraint, right? So I'm not going to go over the top with this. And what can we do that is really valuable and is really, you know, something that people want, and not just a nice thing to have? You know, these are all old marketing, you know, guidelines that I've followed for my entire career. So there's a lot of creativity that goes into that. So that's kind of what's driving me right now, is coming up with creative solutions that really help people accomplish what they want to accomplish in a business way.
Outstanding. Well, Paul Gannon, I can't thank you enough for coming on ThoughtCast Media. You know, when I get back, I might have to call you up maybe for a job or something because
Yeah, man.
I want to make sure I'm well employed and that's and I'll be honest with you. So, you know, going back to starting this podcast, I mean, it was basically spamming the hell out of LinkedIn.
I love that you did that.
And I'll be completely honest, you know, it started off, I was going through my texts with people that, you know, were on gigs of mine that were canceled
Yeah.
in March 2020
Right.
and saying, hey, I want to do the podcast even before. But then at that point, it was like I just started texting people direct.
Yeah.
Then it was people on Facebook that I had previous messages with.
Yeah.
And then I guess it was a little bit of further Facebook, but Facebook was working so slow. I just went on LinkedIn, put in a couple of filters, and just spammed the shit out of LinkedIn. Admittedly,
I love it.
no shame.
I get LinkedIn spam all the time, but it's like, oh no, I don't want to refinance my business, you know, and completely wrong what I do. And so this was, you know, it's video related. I thought, hell yeah, I'll do that. I keep doing that. That's great. Let me ask you, out of the 140 or however many episodes that you've done, how many are with people you know versus people like me that you didn't know before you shot?
Well, that's a tricky question because I'm constantly having like these roundtables with my partners, but I think, you know, maybe the first 30 or 40, and then there might have been a few here and there where somebody finally saw the message, but I know them.
Yeah.
But they've been busy for whatever reason. But I'd say out of 151, I'd say 100 were people were no, maybe 80 were just straight up like half, maybe probably half of these episodes were like people that I met for the first time, like you, on LinkedIn.
What a success, man. That's a real success. I think getting people, you know, I mean, the content is king, as they say, and getting people to share their content with you. That's the hardest thing of all.
And, you know, I'm getting those warnings from LinkedIn all the time. And I'm like, okay, let me slow down. Let me not do 80 messages a day. Let me do like 20, keep it 20, but more often the week. So, you know, you gotta like work around with those, with the I guess the spam bot filter thing that LinkedIn tries to prevent. Right. But
now, are we linked through LinkedIn, or did you just?
We must be because I don't think I can message you on LinkedIn unless we're connected.
I think you get a small number that you can do unless you're connected. I don't know how it works, but yeah,
I don't know. I think
it's great.
So yeah, no shame at all. Like, yeah, you know, just reaching out and that was the thing, was just like, what's the worst thing you could tell me is no.
Yeah.
But yeah. Awesome. But Paul, again, can't thank you enough for coming on. It was great chatting. Learned a lot. Continue to be inspired. ThoughtCastMedia.com. No, I'm sorry. ThoughtCastMedia.tv.
Yeah.
And are there any other plugs, socials, links?
That's
sites?
it. I'm on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere, but nothing really exciting.
Awesome. Well, Paul, don't go anywhere. We're going to chat a little bit more offline. And the viewers out there, if you want to become an honorary member of the Zombie Squad, send me some, hit me up on any of the socials. Send me the name that you want to be credited as a honorary member of Zombie Squad. Send me your favorite 1 or 2 profile pictures, avatars, what have you, your profile pictures on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and we can squad you up. I will make you an honorary member of the Zombie Squad, and I'll design all the stuff. I'll design a t-shirt, I'll design your logo, your whole Zombie Squad kind of profile if you want to be an honorary member of Zombie Squad, and give you the options to buy a t-shirt, to buy a phone case, to buy a pillow, to buy a tapestry, to buy a hoodie, to whatever the hell you want. But if you want to be an honorary member of the Zombie Squad, let me know. And
but you got to they got to put in the work though.
All they have to do is send me 1 or 2 of their profile